Thank you for joining us. If we start on time exactly, then we would have had mechanical issues, so thank you for your patience. My pleasure to introduce someone that I am just getting to know. He's spent some time already with our brother Rick Janice. Thank you, Rick. Thank you for hosting so far. Durga comes to us from Nepal, and it has a kind of special weight here because our reps there, Leah and Luke Research are from KW, and I should pay an honorable mention here to Luke's brother Joel, or is it Joel or Joel? I'm looking past you, Glenn, to Joel, who is hosting Durga. And Durga is our colleague. Often we introduce people who are our partners who are visiting from international sites, but in this case, he's a colleague. He works for MCC, and so I'm going to, because I haven't had a lot of time to spend with him yet, I am going to introduce him from his bio. I spent a little bit of time learning how to say his name so that I will not do it an injustice, but you can still correct me if I don't get it right. Hello, I am Durga Sunchiuri. I got sort of a 5.5 out of 10 there on that. Durga grew up in the rural hills of eastern Nepal. Family was engaged in subsistence agriculture, and Durga spent lots of time helping his family as a child. Completed his education and then came to Kathmandu for university, did a bachelor's in humanities and social sciences, and then started a development NGO career in a junior position with 2 different Nepali NGOs and 2 international NGOs, and then joined MCC Nepal in January of 2015. And some of us will remember that there were serious earthquakes 4 months after that, I think, in April. He works for MCC Nepal as program coordinator. In the development sector, the involvement is mostly in community development with a focus in sustainable livelihoods, peace, health, and education. A very appropriate piece for Ontario is that he helped to lead the Grains of Hope learning tour from Wallenstein Feed here in Ontario, and visited agriculture projects that were funded by the Canadian Food Grains Bank. And then after the massive quakes of April 15, was the first responder in humanitarian relief and response work in rural communities, and still involved in the continuing recovery work. So that's the MCC program piece. And then more personally, he is married to Bimala, and they have a daughter, Rosanna, who is 5 years old. Durga is converted to Christianity in the first generation, and lives with his family, who are not Christians, but living together in the same household. So I think that's a very interesting element of your life as well. Durga and his family attend the Assemblies of God Church in Kathmandu, where he's involved in ministries with various responsibilities as a volunteer: Sunday school teaching, youth fellowship coordinator, deacon, church steering committee member, currently a member of the church council, and he preaches from time to time and enjoys it without having been to theological college. Likes to interact with people and learn from them. So, a warm welcome to you, Durga. We give you the time, and then some people may have to leave before 1 o'clock, but we'll try to make sure we have some question and answer with you as well. So, a warm welcome for Durga. Thank you.
Hello everyone, Namaste. This is Nepali way of greeting people. It's a great honor and privilege for me to have you all here and to talk and share about the work in Nepal. Can you hear from the back? Am I loud enough? Okay, thank you. I have prepared some slides here, but mostly I'll be talking and sharing my experiences. And my presentation is not very well organized because I was working with my computer, and at the last moment I couldn't carry my computer because of this new policy, travel policy of the US, and so it's not very well prepared there. But I'm going to talk about a little introduction of Nepal and then MCC work in a brief, then earthquake and its, the relief and recovery work, what we are doing there, and still continuing. So those are the main topics there. Does it work? Oh, no. Yeah, it works. So if you are interested to this, then please, we can continue. Otherwise, I can go soon. Quickly to the things which you are not interested. So I wanted to show Nepal in world map. It's in Asia. Maybe most of you know, but sometimes it's a very small country, and maybe you don't hear about it. But after earthquake, of course, and then MCC is there. That means you are none of it. So it is Tibet, it is China on its north, and India in east, south, and west. So it's a landlocked, and sorry, and we have no sea route. So these two big countries and big economy of the world are there around Nepal. Do you know anything about Nepal? What it is famous for?
Mount Everest.
Mount Everest, of course. Yeah. So we have Mount Everest in Nepal and many other mountains which are more than 8,000 meters high. And yeah, it is there. And another thing is it is the birthplace of Gautam Buddha, who is the founder of Buddhism. And in this area, there are maybe not much Buddhism, but in East Asia and around Asia, so many people come to visit Nepal because of this Buddha's place. And this is not much to do, but I just say it is famous for trekking in Nepal, some adventures like rafting and then paragliding and mountain climbing. These are some touristic places and touristic areas where people might be interested. Rock climbing, mountain climbing, most of the part of the Nepal is rocky mountains and hills. There is bungee jumping, very high areas. And there are places to watch elephants or rhinos and wildlife and jungle safari, those kind of touristic places also. In MCC Nepal, 9 people are working, and we have 3 Americans, country rep Luke and Leah, and Martha. She's from the US, from North Carolina. She works as food security advisor. And all 3 are leaving soon, and we are replacing them by other people. And we have finance people and program people. And after earthquake, we are this big. Otherwise, we were 6-7 people. Now our project size is increased. I go to earthquake. So in the earthquake, it was around the center of Nepal, and I think you know it. And 14 districts out of 75 districts were badly affected. It was also felt in India and China. So these are the districts most affected. You can see it in map. So earthquake facts, maybe you are aware of it mostly. So approximately 8 million people were affected in one way or another. 8,790 people lost their lives. 22,000 people injured badly, and many of them are handicapped. They lost their hands or eyes or legs, and now they are living in that condition. More than 505,000 houses collapsed, damaged, and destroyed. That means they need to be repaired or reconstructed. In 2017, 279,000 houses are completely collapsed, and they couldn't find anything from inside. Their grains, their other things, everything is lost there. So why earthquake happens in Nepal might be interesting or not. So in many places, it's volcanic earthquake, but in Nepal it is due to this big plate of the earth. There is southern plate in the south of Nepal. It is Indian plate and Eurasian plate in the north. And this Indian plate is every year it goes towards it moves towards north, and when they collide, and the energy uh, stores there, and it comes out and it shakes the earth. So scientists have developed this. Oh no, how to go back? So it goes like this, and then it produces energy, and it shakes the earth. Uh, so now I come to the point, to the work of MCC in Nepal. So right after the earthquake, we engaged from the same week. We started assessing the situations because we work through our partners. In MCC, I presented that we are 8 people in MCC office, but we also work with 8 partner NGOs who are local organizations, and they are the actual implementer in the field, in the community. So many people from our projects are already they were already in the communities, already in the earthquake hit areas. So we started communicating with them how was the situation there. But it was not easy because all the electricity was cut right after the earthquake, and that caused the telephone obstruction for 2 days, so we couldn't contact very well. Internet was not working, radio, television, nothing was there, and we were without this all kind of communication forms stopped and disturbed. So we started communicating with partners in using other means like the emergency kind of telephones, which were very limited, and then found that our project areas were very badly heated. 2 of our staff were out of communication for 1 week, who are working with the partners because they were in very remote areas, and later on we found they were safe. One staff from one our partner organization, she lost her life in the mountains, and others were safe. So right after earthquake that week, we started this relief work, and then we prepared very short proposals and sent to Akron, and then next week, within 8-9 days, we could purchase materials and head to the affected areas. So MCC was one of the first responder in some places there. And yes, you can see the figure. We raised more than 2,000 families right after the earthquake, providing relief supports for food mainly, and some non-food items also. Non-food items included like utensils, pots, utensils, or what my English is, you understand, to cook things, and providing buckets to carry water because they lost everything in their houses. In Nepal, mostly houses in the mountain sides are built with stones and mud mortar, and when it collapses, everything is just a mess and damage there. So we also provided tarpaulins to stay people in the yard or in open field. So we raised like more than 2,000 people in that area. And only food items we distributed in one district, and we distributed to 1,100 families. And this is more instant kind of food, like bean rice, which people they can eat without cooking. And this 2,100, that was like rice and lentils and that kind of food which people need to cook and eat. So more than 3,000 families. It is not exactly people. I was using people, but it is families we supported. And we also supported in one district, providing with metal zinc seats, metal roofing materials, so that they can prepare and construct temporary shelters and live there. And those zinc sheets were also, by now, they are used for permanent housing for roof. So it was for both purpose, for temporary and then now for permanent. And we provided, especially in the town, in the city area, this psycho-social counseling support to 500 people. After earthquake, they were very panicked. They lost everything. Many people lost their family members and property and everything, so they were in a panic condition and psychosocially very affected. So we established, one of our partners established counseling center, and it is called Transit Home, and affected people can come there and stay there for weeks or some people months, and they get counseling support, even medical support, and then when they get better and then go back home. So we provided that, and we still continue because there are other people affected badly. And this is called winterization in Nepal. I don't know what is winterization. It is to bring winter, but this is not about to bring winter. It is to support people to be safe in the winter, because when they have no houses and they stay outside in the yard in the winter, cold winter, mountain area where there is snowfall, and they lost all the blankets and the warm clothes. So we provided, in 2015 winter, we provided warm clothes for children and blankets for family, and we provided to 500 families with these materials. Oh no, I'm sorry. It is 1,286 families. So in total, we raised around 6,000 families, providing these all relief things there. And we are continuing with a recovery from earthquake, supporting them in providing livelihood recovery support, agricultural recovery support, and I will talk about it a little later. So I can share some stories from my own experience, how it was to go there. I don't have any photos here in this section. So it was Saturday, and Saturday is the weekend in Nepal, Saturday and Sunday, so we were not in office. I was in the church, and we have quite a big church. We are around 600 people in every Saturday, every week there. So it was congregation going on there, and we had communion that day, and we just finished the communion, and I was moving the front table of the communion, so two of us were moving, and it happened that the earthquake came. As I was moving, I didn't notice it very well, but people started shaking, and they started responding. So it was a huge crowd, and people were panicked, tried to escape away, and some of us tried then to calm down because our building was safe, one-story building with metal roof, so it was safe. Then, yeah, that was and then we family, my wife and my child was there, we all were there. So when I had some idea of the facts in Nepal. It happens in every 70 to 80 years. We have a record of earthquake in Nepal since last 7-8 years, 700 years. So in this 700 history, earthquake more than 8 Richter scale, the major earthquake it occurs in about 70 to 80 years. But this time it was not occurring even in 82. This was in 82 years. So scientists were telling that it would be even bigger because the energy is storing under the earth beneath there. So I thought that because of their prediction, Kathmandu is very much vulnerable because the houses are not safely constructed and close to each other, some tall buildings, not very skyscrapers, but tall buildings, 10, 15 stories, and which are very narrow and vulnerable. So the prediction was that about 60% houses would collapse if this major earthquake comes, and 100,000 people lost their lives. But actually it was not that bad. And scientists and these all geologists, something they say, these geography people were amazed of why it was not that much effect. So after coming from the church, I was coming across the city area, and there was not much collapse I saw, not much. So for 2 days, we were without communication, as I said, no news, no television, no, everything was not there, so we did not know how much effect, how much damages, and people were lost. And only after 2 days, we started getting news and the damages everywhere. So after that was on Saturday, so on Monday we gathered in office and started writing. So I have some photos of how we worked outside because we felt so panicked inside the office. And it was, there were even like 5 Richter scale, 4 Richter scale earthquake, many earthquakes every day. It was shaking every day. And sometimes we had to run from the office building. So it was even panic situation, even 2-3 days after. So from Monday we started writing these proposals and assessing the situations in the communities and preparing for the relief support. And as you see, we were there outside. Then next week, I traveled to one of the main affected area, and it was very far. We packed 2 big trucks, actually 3 big trucks, and traveled 10 hours to the rough road there. And while we arrived to the community, the road was very narrow and the trucks couldn't pass. And then we hired some tractors there. And the road is actually not road, it's just open rocky area, and it is in the mountains. And my colleague from partner and I had to travel by this tractor at the back and on the top of the rice stack. We were sitting there for 3 hours in a very, very bumpy road, and we reached to the mountain areas, and then we distributed materials like food and non-food items to many families. There are around 300 families we could distribute in one day there. And it was a big crowd, but people gathered from different places. They were already identified by our local partners there. And they assessed and they worked together with the local county, local village municipality people, and some security people came to support us to pack, to unload, to load things. And as a community, they helped us and we could respond there with those people. I went to that part. My another colleague, Binod, he went to another district, and Luke Rishokela, who is our country rep, he went to another district. So we divided in that way. And some other people, they worked in the office, supporting partners to purchase materials and assessing the things in other areas, communicating with partners. So everyone was engaged. We halted our regular activities, other things, and we focused to the relief because that was the major need there. So we provided these shelter materials. These are the seats that are used, you can see, and this distribution was in one place. So we had to travel for the whole day, and by night we arrived to the community. So it was dark and people were using flashlights, and it happened even in the night. People came there to carry the things, and they traveled to the places. Then now we have started our recovery work, and in recovery I already told you that we are providing some support to the families for recovering their livelihoods, and one of the main areas we are supporting them is to ensure, to help them to build safe houses in earthquake. So providing training to the mason, to the construction worker with new technology, that is available there. And nowadays it's very difficult to find the trainers because they are very busy. They are limited people to train mason, to train a construction worker. So we found those people, and last week 30 people were graduated in this training, 7 days training. Actually, this week there are more other groups of people. They are attending training, so it's happening in different places there. So this training was provided one of the areas very badly affected there, and different kind of technologies are introduced, like using these kind of iron bars or using just local materials of stone and mud, or using bricks, and at least 3 kind of technologies are provided to this training. So MCC, in the beginning, MCC Nepal was thinking to support people to build their houses, actually providing materials or funding support, money support. But later on, the government decided that government provides $3,000, around $3,000 grant to the families. So, and then if the NGOs provide, then government doesn't provide. So we decided we provide whatever the government doesn't, and then we decided to focus in recovering their livelihoods, health facilities, drinking water systems, and those all. But government is not providing many trainings. They expect NGOs to collaborate with the government to provide training, so we focus in this area. And now government later on decided that 300,000 is not enough if the family is not supporting very well, or they are very poor and are an old lady staying only in the house or as a family, or there are disabled people. So in that case, NGOs can provide around 50,000 Nepali rupees, which is $500 of material support as a top of to the 300,000 Nepali rupees or $3,000. So we decided to provide that top of support to those specific families, and then now we are providing materials, construction materials, or mason cost to 248 families, and they are constructing their housing. So these were some mason training photos. And I can talk a little more about recovering support to their livelihoods. So in this part, we are supporting families, providing some agriculture trainings and tools and seeds, because they lost their seeds, which was stored in their houses, and we provide those things, and they have started growing foods or starting new businesses because they lost their businesses. And to recover their agriculture livelihoods, we provide support to the community to reconstruct their irrigation canals, their drinking water systems. So that work is going on nowadays. We also provide some support to families, providing toilet materials, because the toilets were damaged, and that was one of the problem in the families, and they were using forests, outside areas, or temporary toilets. And as they are focusing to build their houses, it is difficult for them to manage everything there. So government was okay. They permit to provide such support, and then we are also providing this sanitation supports. And the other part of our reconstruction, earthquake reconstruction work is helping the community to build their local health facilities, their local health posts. We have system of having local health posts in each set of villages. So the buildings were collapsed, and now they are building these houses for local health facilities, and we have provided support, and we are continuing providing those supports. These are the major activities that we support in earthquake reconstruction. And I was thinking to share something about our regular part of work if you are interested. Otherwise, I open floor for your questions and we can talk and I can respond to your questions. So should I say something about our regular work there? Okay. So mainly we work in 3 sectors, but more or less in 4 sectors in Nepal. So our major focus is, as our regular projects, our major focus is food security and livelihood. Our 70% fund is separated. It is allocated for food security and livelihood projects. So most of our partners engage in that. So in terms of livelihood, based on the Nepali context, it's more focused in agricultural livelihoods. So people grow their own food in their own land or in rented land, in a steep terraces in the mountains. They grow grains like corn and millets and rice in the mountains, and more rice in the flat areas, hot and flat areas. And vegetable production is another main source of income nowadays, and people are growing semi-commercialized vegetables, and we provide techniques and some technologies and some tools or plastic houses to increase their income, increase their production. So that is agriculture, and we also support families for livestock production. Goats are considered good meat in Nepal, so people can make good income out of goat raising, pig raising, and chicken farms. So these 3 kind of livestock keeping, we provide technology like providing trainings and providing some seed fund, some seed money to start businesses. So we focus to very, very poor families who don't have other alternative livelihood options, and we support to those families. And women are the main participants in our projects, because in Nepal, women are, we have a lot of gender discrimination. Men are normally, they go out for work and they earn money, and women stay and do household work. And household work is they don't make much cash, and it is considered less important work. So we are raising awareness among men and women and gender equality, and our project support more women to make businesses, to come together and to work, to make money, so that it helps the family to improve their livelihoods and also to have equality in terms of gender. So many places there are women groups work together, run savings activity, they collect money themselves and provide loans to their members, and they take it back when they do businesses like very small vegetable farm or chicken, or as I told you already. So those are activities in livelihood and agriculture or food security area. We have health projects, raising awareness among people for community health, their personal health and hygiene. Nutrition is another focus of our work, and we provide trainings for awareness in nutrition to feed their children with the balanced meal kind of things. So we also work in WAS. WAS is water and sanitation. Sanitation is very much an issue in Nepal. People don't care much. There are open defecation, so we promote toilets, clean drinking water habits, those kind of things. And we also work in HIV-focused health sector. We have disaster as a work there, and in disasters we provide relief and also raise awareness to people to be prepared to respond to disasters. Considering time and your energy level, I think I need to stop here and open floor for questions. So whatever areas you are interested, myself or our MCC work there, or anything about Nepal, I'm happy to respond, and I try to, yeah.
Just for the sake of the recording, I'm going to pass around a mic, just so that we.
Thanks. There were some political disruptions after the earthquake that we'd heard about that prevented some of the relief work from happening or slowed it down almost to a stop. Have all those political issues been resolved now, or are they still lingering, and is it still having an impact to the work?
Yeah, thank you. In Nepal, some kind of political issues are settled and other issues are raised because it's politically Nepal is very, very unstable, and there was a Hindu kingdom system since 10 years. It is now democracy established and multi-party system. But the election has not happened, and that is many parties are coming together, making a coalition government, and it's for 1 year or even 10 months, and the government changes and new systems come, and it is happening. And in 2015, there was the constitution writing process as democracy came. New democratic constitution was under draft process while there was earthquake, and after earthquake they agreed to have that constitution. But one of the political parties which has a stronger influence to the country were not happy with the constitution, so they blocked the border from India to Nepal, and it is a very important border because all the food or construction material, everything, fuel and everything comes from India to Nepal, as there is mountains in the China side and there is no road access to China side, very little road access. And it was blocked by the earthquake because the mountain was collapsed there, so roads were collapsed. So the blockade was for 6 months at least, and then it continued even more. So maybe you saw the news that we were without fuel and cooking gases, that all were very much issue, and then there were no cars running for months because we didn't get fuel. So that issue is now solved, but that political party is still demanding to amend the constitution. But now it is better situation, and the local election is now happening next month, April 31, or sometimes at the end of April. So it's better now, but still there is what is that called? Liquid kind of political situation, but at least a little better. Yes.
I was going to comment about how the news of the earthquakes came here to this area. It was on the morning of, those of you who recognize this conference designation, Mennonite Church Eastern Canada, MCEC, was having its sessions here at Rockway, and I got a text from Leah's mother, I think, the first news. So texts were working. Somehow Leah had gotten a hold of her family to say that they were safe, because with the time differential, as we woke up, we heard that there had been this quake. And so there were several hundred Mennonite people from the conference that Luke and Leah are part of that were gathered in one place, and gradually this news was seeping in, and then news that they were safe. And I recall that there was a prayer time for them, and there's always this interesting dynamic of both praying for the people you know, and then also taking seriously the fact that many people you don't know are the actual victims of this, and trying to weigh out both of those, being glad for the safety of Luke and Leah, and also hoping for the safety of partners, because I think it was many days until they knew how their partners had fared. And then a few weeks later, when benefit concerts were happening here and there were other kinds of fundraisers, then the Nepali community in this area became fairly involved with MCC and got involved with fundraising. And so we learned to know the Nepalese community in Kitchener-Waterloo as a result of this. So that's often been another unexpected but increasingly common way that MCC builds bridges here with communities whose families back home have been harmed, often in a natural disaster or in in conflict as well.
Yeah.
So there's a richness to both sides of these, even out of obviously the pain and harm of the quakes themselves.
Yeah, yeah, thank you for sharing. Yeah, about this communication, it was, there are 2, 3 phone companies in Nepal. And one of the phone company, it was working for some minutes maybe right after earthquake. So while I was there in the church, I got a text from Luke that, Durga, I hope you are safe, and we are safe. And I tried to respond it, and my company was different, and it was not working. So yeah, and then many people outside of Nepal, they heard about earthquake, and there was CNN and everything, all the news, and then they started responding. Yes, and yeah, and this was very unique in Nepal. In Nepal, so many countries were involved in response work, and they provided, they sent their rescue team to Nepal, and they actually started rescue within some hours, and a lot of relief from all over the world, it came to Nepal. And even in reconstruction phase, they are supporting many countries, government and people, they are supporting. Yeah.
Wish. Oh, okay. Yeah, thank you for for sharing. And I was particularly struck by how organized the efforts were when you went to the community to provide some of the relief. You know, when you said there were people there to protect, there were people unpacking, the community was involved. So I think it really speaks to, you know, we talk about the model of MCC is through partnership, local partnership on the ground. We talk about that a lot. But I think, to me, what you shared best demonstrates the number of partnerships coming together, so that in a response effort where there's a lot of need, it sounds like it was very orderly and distributed in a way that was seen best by the partners. And so I just want to reflect that I appreciated you. I'm sure it's not always that way, but in light of this was a natural disaster. It wasn't like a planned for event of helping in a community. So did you want to reflect a little bit more on how those processes work to make that happen?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. That is one of our strengths, working with the community there. We don't have very big fund in Nepal comparing to other bigger organizations like Oxfam or CARE or ActionAid, who are active in many countries. They have big funds, but they were very, very slow to actually respond in earthquake, because they are based in the city, in the capital there, and they have a long process to go there. But yeah, as you notice that we have partners and local people, and we have very good relationship with them, and they were actually in the affected areas. So while we contacted with them, it was very easy for us to assess the situations, because we don't needed to travel for hours or days to reach the communities there. So by phone, in 2-3 days, the phone started working, and then we could just get information from that areas, and we could assess the situation there, and we could plan for what things are needed for there, food, or what kind of food, or what are the materials. So we planned in that way, and we could purchase it in the cities where there are some stores were functioning, the transportation was functioning. And even we were contacting to other places, because there are our partners in other further area where there was no earthquake. So actually we bought tarpaulin from about 600 kilometers west from Nepal. So we just called there, because in Kathmandu, in the capital city, almost all the shops were closed because of the damage, and we couldn't find. But we actually could contact the people there and order the things from the factory there. So even with the phone call, they sent it, and we didn't provide money for some weeks because they trusted us due to our relationship with them. And after 2-3 weeks, they gave their account number, and we could transfer. And banks were not functioning even. You know, it was that situation. Yeah, and then we purchased the materials in the cities, transported to the areas, and while we reached there, people were organized there as a team, volunteers, local volunteers, government workers, and they were ready, and they were already gathered there, identifying all the households who are most needy, and yeah, we could do that. And in some places, we just transported materials and ensured that they have selected the right people, the most affected people, and just left there the materials, and they could distribute by themselves, because we were limited people and we could not go everywhere and distribute those all. So we have very good relationship with our partners, and we trust them because we have that experience of working with them, and it works very well. Yeah. That's right. Any questions? Or no time? Questions?
We got time for one more, I think.
Yeah, at least one.
Did you learn anything from this earthquake that you will take into your next disaster recovery?
Yes. In terms of preparedness, Nepal, and we MCC people in the Nepal, the government, we all learned a lot. We had heard and we knew that earthquake happens in Nepal, and there are other natural disasters like flood in the plain areas and a lot of landslides in the mountain areas. But the communities are not very well prepared or equipped for this all. We have now started drafting our response policy, a simple guideline for it. And actually, I and another colleague from my office from MCC Nepal, we too attended one training in last December, which was focused to emergency humanitarian relief work. And we have now better idea how to organize this all relief and response work. And and we are focusing to preparedness training and awareness now. We have not planned to buy things and store as MCC for emergency relief, but we have making networks with the vendors, suppliers, and those kind of things. And Nepal itself, we are involved in some of the with government also in some of activities. And Nepal is now preparing its national strategy for disaster response. So actually in these days, in these weeks, there are consultations happening in different areas in the states. And we have small province now. And in the provincial areas, in the village areas, they are gathering information and preparing this all. Again, specifically, we are not very much prepared for the next disaster, but we are gathering this information, and we learned those things. For myself, I learned something also, because when earthquake happened, I had no cash with me. Actually, my family had no cash, and it was 25th of the day. It was the last week of the month, and food for that month was almost over. Normally, we buy foods for 1 month because we normally cook like rice and vegetables, other things. Vegetables we buy every week, but rice, lentils, and all of these oatmeals and everything we buy for a month. And at last week, we were almost out of food that time. And ATMs were not working for a week. Banks were closed. So I was without cash. Actually, my sister was there and she had some cash and she provided me to buy food for family. So I learned now that we need to have some cash at home. Sometimes we use cars in these days, and it's not reliable always. So now we keep some cash and we pack some things, and Yeah, so it taught a lot, yeah. And people learn to build safe houses. And now people are really trying to build safe houses for, which are safe in earthquakes. Yeah.
So there are actually houses that will withstand earthquakes, and what is it, what do they do to make that happen? Is it just having reinforcing wire throughout the?
Different things were the reason for it. One thing is the materials they used or the technology they used to construct safe houses. The other thing, the same kind of houses were collapsed in one area and even in nearby area and the other places they were safe. It was due to the wave of the earthquake because it came this way this time. And then in the top part it was damaged. When it came this way, down part it was safe. The other thing is the landscape, exactly the land, how is it? So in some mountain areas, it was cracked. The land itself was cracked. When land cracks, the building obviously cracks. So what the soil, the land, and it was affected also. So mostly the higher mountains, which is like this curve there on the top, mostly those areas were collapsed. But just nearby, 2 kilometers down there on a little flat, and those houses are safe. Yeah, so those were different things.
Durga, I'm going to say thank you now. After- Thank you, Durga, for being among us, and I'm struck again by a lot of the similarities of things that you talked about that we heard about from Haiti after the earthquakes there. I know one of the strong stories we heard there was there were a lot of buildings that were damaged, but people weren't sure if they were safe or unsafe, and so the provision of building inspectors who could pronounce them safe or unsafe so that people knew. And I know you talked a lot about the damaged buildings and how those responses were critical as well. And your story about partners, and I know I looked at Kim when that photo of the four-wheel drive tractor going up the mountainside. We used that one a lot here. And we also told often the story that MCC's credit was good.
Yeah.
That even though you hadn't stockpiled steel sheets and tarpaulins, that you could buy those when the financial system was crippled. And the value of having pre-existing partnerships that were trustworthy served you well, even if you didn't have cash in your pocket. I'm sorry to hear that you had to, well, it was good that your sister was there and able to buy you rice and lentils.
Yeah.
So thank you again. I want to ask a favor, if you would be willing to carry back a card to Luke and Leah that we could sign. I'd like to put it out on our reception desk over there so we could send our greetings back. I know every once in a while they sent us photos of, in the early days, and I'm not going to get their child's first name right. Can you help me out? Isaac, in the junior peace builder outfit that we sent from MCC. The little onesies, which I'm sure he's outgrown months ago now.
Can
But,
walk and talk now.
Yeah. So we'd like to send greetings back to them with you since they are part of our community here too. So thank you again. And just so people know, John's going to give a little bit of this tastes of MCC or of Ontario to Durga. I think maple syrup tomorrow and Niagara Falls. So we're not going to work him the whole time that he's here.